Radio. You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Is your pet stressed out? Does your pet need annual vaccines? Which pet is best for a child? Would you know if your dog was in pain? Pet Life Radio presents The Pet Doctor, where you'll learn everything about keeping your pet healthy and happy. From pet care, pet meds and grooming, to pet food, pet insurance, and dental care, this is the place to find out everything there is to know about pet wellness. Whether you have a dog, cat, reptile, or rabbit, you'll find answers for your pets straight from the vets, because it's your pet. Health matters. Please welcome your Pet Doctor host, veterinary media consultant and veterinarian, Dr. Bernadine Cruz.
What comes to mind when you're thinking of a hospital? A lot of sick people, strange smells, those indecipherable overhead pages. Code what? Doctor who? Go where? And staff that seems to be ignoring you. Think veterinary hospital. Now what do you think of? Barking and mewing pets, anxious-looking pet owners, a plethora of unpleasant scents, and a staff who looks distracted by a myriad of details. There's a new model of pet hospital with an aim of treating the whole pet, mind and body. It strives to have the pet parent feel as relaxed and pampered as their furry charges. Southern California recently had the opportunity to enjoy the opening of a second unique breed of pet care center. My guest is Dr. John Boyd, the CEO and founder of Dr. Boyd's Pet Resort and Veterinary Centers. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned.
Please have a seat in the waiting room. The doctor will be with you shortly, right after these messages.
It's DesignerPetSweaters.com. Hand-knitted designer sweaters for your precious pup or cool cat. Beautiful couture patterns for your pets, including custom-knitted formal wear, casual wear, yachting, and even sports-themed. Many designer pet sweaters include feathered tammy hats, top hats, and a lot of sparkle. Each sweater includes leg loops, front paw sleeves, and leash opening. Visit DesignerPetSweaters.com to order your four-legged fashions today. Your pets will stay warm for the winter and be runway ready. Large or small, we fit them all. DesignerPetSweaters.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Welcome back to the Pet Doctor on Pet Life Radio with Dr. Bernadine Cruz. The doctor is in, and we'll see you now.
Dr. Boyd, thank you so much for being with us today. I have to admit, you're somebody I've known for a period of time, watched your stellar rise in that veterinary profession of ours. I'm so glad you're now in my area here in Southern California.
Good morning. Thank you. It's nice to be back in your area. Remember, I started in your area probably 25 years ago.
And then you moved away, but came on back. Give me a little bit of a background. Though I know you, I don't really know you. How'd you get involved in veterinary medicine?
Well, I was probably much like yourself and others. I was the caretaker in the family, and I was the one who took care of injured seabirds growing up, and would volunteer in local shelters and veterinary hospitals, and picked up after the dog and took the feeding responsibility. So early on, I think my mom knew I was going to be a veterinarian first. And then as time went by, my interest in science and medicine, it was a perfect mix.
Very good. Now, this hospital of yours, I had the privilege of going through and taking a tour, and I have to admit, it's like, wow, so nice. But I understand that you have somewhat of a different concept. You know, my practice is a veterinary hospital. We do have boarding. People like it, our luxury suites, the rest. And your facility, you really seem to be promoting a new concept of hospitality versus hospital. Where'd you come up with that? What does it mean to you?
Well, you said it perfectly in the beginning. You have a beautiful hospital. You and at Laguna Hills Animal Hospital, it's a beautiful facility that does a multitude of services. And historically, we refer to those as ancillary services. The boarding, you have some bathing, you have some nice retail products. So we approach it, and I approach it differently. I don't think of ourselves as a hospital. I think of us as a hospitality service company. And here at our facility, one of the services we provide is veterinary services. So it creates it's an attitudinal change. We like to say it's an itty change, this hospital to hospitality, and yet that small change makes for a huge cultural difference in an approach to the business.
So you're taking care of that sick pet. It walks through the door. Kind of walk me through. Somebody walks through your door. What's the first thing they see?
Well, I love the question because it's a fabulous veterinary question from a very successful veterinarian. So we take care of healthy pets. We take care of all pets, and then when they become sick, we're here to help them. So we don't tend to get the guests. We call them guests that come through. Our guests that come in, our dogs and cats that come in, are typically healthy. And we're taking care of the whole pet their whole life, with daycare and boarding, some other services we can talk about later. Then when they're identified to be ill or injured or have an issue or looking for some wellness preventative care, we have a full-service veterinary hospital. We're staffed 7 days a week with veterinarians. We have every diagnostic that nearly all nice diagnostic hospitals have now. And yet again, we approach it as a wellness facility. It's sort of Disneyland for dogs, if you will. We can do everything here. And then when they get ill or sick, we have the ability to care for them.
What I really enjoy about veterinary medicine in general, and it seems as though you've really hit on this, is that in human medicine, you typically go when you're sick. You don't go for your wellness. It's not proactive is the mindset in human medicine. And it seems as though veterinary medicine has tried to say, okay, why do I need to come in once a year, doc? My pet's actually fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like, great, let's keep it that way. So being proactive makes them live longer, happier, healthier lives. And oftentimes when we seem to find a problem, it's easier to treat because you're catching it early. It's less expensive to treat because you're treating it early, and you typically have a better outcome. And I understand you have what you're kind of calling a holistic pet care. Tell me about the holistic pet care.
Well, and I use the term holistic differently than a lot of my colleagues do. I use it with a WHOLE, so the whole pet, the whole life, the entire family. What you've been talking about, this wellness care, historically in veterinary medicine, well, the way I've perceived it is that we as an association and as a group of professionals have attempted to educate the public and pet owners on wellness care and the importance of regular annual or semi-annual visits to the veterinarian to look for those things, just as you said. What we've been able to do is take that to the nth degree. So rather than talking about compliance and we're talking about the human-animal bond, trying to educate people, we have people bringing their dogs in, their family members in every day. Many people bring for daycare every day of the week, some 2 days, 3 days. We tend to have so many visits. So in veterinary medicine, we'll talk about the number of annual visits perhaps that come in, and that allows us to understand sort of how many touches we're getting, and if we're getting our message through, how many times does someone has to hear something before they understand it. We have an average of maybe 3 touches a week, and we have, by having the whole care of the dogs, whether it's daycare, which is just fabulous, my favorite thing of this entire venture, or overnight stays, bathing, clipping, stylings, or training, and training is a big part of our facility as well. We get to know them, and we get to know those issues so that as they mention, hey, it's been scratching a little bit, well, then he's already here, our veterinarian's already here. Once someone's in the program and in the wellness program, every exam is free, so there's no charge, So they're already coming in for daycare, they're already getting a bath. So, hey, you take a look at the ear. We take a look, and we're on the same page then. There's not that adversarial position or concern that it's driven by finance. It takes the things that you and I have been working on for so many years to get the stickiness of the relationship, right? And for them to be able to appreciate the value that you're educating them of. It's inherently so much more pleasant and easy to do that here that it makes the veterinary side a tremendous pleasure to practice. We don't tend to have as many of the uncomfortable conversations that you and I have traditionally had in our hospitals, where someone comes in and has that cautious approach, as they're trying to avoid an upsell.
I love the theory of this because, and I guess I shouldn't even say theory because I know this is your second center. So you've worked out any kinks in your first center. And when somebody comes in and drops off their pet for daycare in particular, so you'll typically be asking these questions, or is it just that friend saying, hey, how you been? How's Fluff doing today? Or does your staff kind of give them that once over every time they come in?
Great question, because we're so familiar in our industry. We're so familiar as veterinarians attempting to open up our families that come in and trying to ask appropriate questions to find the answers, because as you and I know, all of us, we don't know what we don't know. So the family members don't know when there's a problem because they're not aware of the clinical signs of these particular things that you and I might be looking for. So the way we do it is not by leading questions, and the way we do it is conversational, and it is part of the life. I mean, as they come in, I love my little dogs, Surf and Reef, and Surfy and Reef. When I see you 2 or 3 times, I'm going to be telling you about them. And if Reef or Surf has an issue, you're going to know. And it's the same thing here. The families we become very close with and develop personal relationships with the families. And they love to talk about their families and their pets. And we love to hear about them, right? So then you get that information. And the other advantage that we have is if we don't get that information when they drop off or when they check in for, say, daycare, our handlers are in the yards, are well trained, and they're looking for everything. So we have dogs that come in that we'll call mom and dad and say, hey, we noticed that there's a scratch on the left paw. Did you know about it? And we go, oh yeah, I got it. No problem. And then we're done. But sometimes we have a smelly ear or we see something else. So we have eyes on the dogs and hands on the dogs every day for hours and hours. And so you just develop an intimacy in a relationship and help one another.
I think that's wonderful. And there are times people are so busy and taking that dog to doggy daycare so they can get their yayas out. And when they get home, there can be that much better, acceptable part of the family because they're not just, come on, let's go. And the parents kind of, really? It was a long day, guys. I can't take you out for a walk today. But oftentimes when we're so busy, you miss things because you just didn't have the chance to see it, or, I'm seeing this pet every day. I didn't realize that my 12-pound Chihuahua is now 22 because it's been happening right in front of your eyes. So here, I love the fact that there's extra eyes and ears and noses on these pets to see what's going on.
Yeah, and what's interesting, again, is that little tiny difference of being a hospitality company versus a hospital company, that when they come in for daycare, so we have dog daycare, we have hundreds in our 2 facilities that utilize it. When they come in, it's a little different, Doc, than I thought it would be. I thought daycare was getting the yayas out. I was on the same page as you until I started to experience and understand what's happening. And the amount of socialization and confidence building that occurs and mental stimulation creates such a satisfied individual. The dogs can be so content and satisfied that when they get home, they're not getting home and flopped out, exhausted because they've been running miles and miles. They're content, happy, confident, interactive in the family without the anxiety behaviors, or what I consider anxiety behaviors, of whether it be chasing the tail, barking, digging, attention-getting behavior, pulling your stuff out of the closet and showing it to you, and trying to get your attention. They've had that satisfaction. I'm very familiar living at the beach, and people will take their beach list and run for miles and miles, and chasing birds for a half hour, and they're always pretty uniformly shocked when an hour later the dog has just as much energy as it did before. But when you give them a job or some mental stimulation, which they crave, and socialization, well, gosh, then now there's a calmness. Even the hyper dogs will have a sense of fulfillment. And so it really, to me, has been the missing link for me in the hospitals over the years. And we've had some great hospitals. And as a matter of fact, growing up in Orange County, you and your partner, you've had hospitals that have been on the leading edge. Your facility, I recall years and years ago, you started boarding. I recall when you started doing some retail of quality products that might be good in the treatment plans or the health of the pet. Little things like that you did that seem little at the time, but I think were huge for our industry. Because when I started, I believe it was the AVMA put out a paper once when I was in my internship, I was young, and they was talking about how it was unprofessional for veterinarians to board animals. That would be like a pediatrician having a toy store, in the front of their medical office. So the things that now are common, this dog daycare and this boarding facilities, that years ago were unheard of. And so, I think probably even my mom and dad would have chuckled at me, 15, 20 years ago if I had done this, right? So it's been time coming. It's been coming on for a while, and I think we finally got to the point where we understand the value of it, and then we can share it with the families in the community.
I'm chatting right now with Dr. John Boyd. He's the CEO and founder of Dr. Boyd's Pet Resort, notice Pet Resort, and Pet Veterinary Centers. We're going to be right back after the short break, and he's going to tell us how he's learned to think like a dog. Got a little taste of it? Let's learn how he's came to think like a dog and how it can help all of us at home with our pets. Be right back after the short break.
Please have a seat in the waiting room. The doctor will be with you shortly, right after these messages.
Calling all pet product manufacturers and pet experts. Let the public relations and marketing professionals at Whitegate PR get you featured in the news. I'm Dana Humphrey at Whitegate PR, and we have been specializing in pet product PR for over 10 years and can get your brand featured in the media, from TV to radio to print to blogs. You can find out more at www.whitegatepr.com.
Pet Life Radio, the #1 pet radio network on the planet, joins forces with iHeartRadio to put the power of your pets in your pocket. Awesome! Download the iHeartRadio app and rock Pet Life Radio on your phone, on your tablet, on your Xbox, in your car. Pet talk, pet tunes, and fun pet times. Pet Life Radio and iHeartRadio. Positively Possum.
Hi, this is T.O.D. Anderson, and I'm the host of Get Positive Results on Pet Life Radio. We're going to talk about a variety of topics on canine behavior and training, all based on modern methods that are fun for you and your dog. We might be talking about other critters, too. So join us on Get Positive Results. We'll talk about common issues between you and your dog, answer your questions, discuss different activities you can do with your dog, and keep you posted on current canine news and products. All this on Get Positive Results on Pet Life Radio.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com. Welcome back to the Pet Doctor on Pet Life Radio with Dr. Bernadine Cruz. The doctor is in, and we'll see you now.
Dr. Boyd, this has really been super enjoyable, and I love your mindset where, yes, you are taking care of that entire pet, which when that pet is well-adjusted, confident, is going to be such a pleasant part to have of the family. You were talking a little bit, I've seen it in some of your brochures too, about thinking like a dog. How did you learn to think like a dog, and what does it mean?
To think like a dog would be to be truly empathetic and compassionate to their needs, and as veterinarians, you and I, and others, we strive for that, and it means a great deal to us. So I've spent many years, 20-some odd years in the hospital scenarios and treating dogs, and I've learned a few things. I had a practice pet resort before the Dr. Boyd's Pet Resort brand was created, and we made some mistakes there. And some of the glaring mistakes that I see in the industry is typically the following. You'll have an individual that loves dogs and travels, so therefore they open a kennel or a resort. And they'll put maybe an Italian facade on the front of the building. There might be some these really cool suites that maybe they have an astronaut suite and a cowboy suite, and they got some furniture in there and a flat screen TV and some other stuff that when you look at dogs and you think about dogs in the nature coming from wolves and dogs in the wild, what is it they like? What they really like, what's really, really wonderful for them is security and comfort. You think of what gives them security, what gives them, comfort. Well, security, knowing they're free from predators, they're not going to be attacked. Comfort is going to be the simple things that to us is simple. We forget because we're so busy. Like footing, underfoot, the flooring, the surface they walk on makes a huge difference. You recall, we used to all have certain kind of slippery tiles out front in the hospitals that looked really nice for our clients. But the dogs walk in and look how they slip out, and some of the old dogs, have arthritic issues and can hurt themselves. And so we've, I think, flooring is a big difference maker for dogs and giving them a sense of security. and comfort. It feels good. And we've got like ceilings of the facility. Instead of trying to pack as much as we can into our square footage that we're leasing, because we all want to be efficient and be business people perhaps and make some money, well, what happens is we sort of like shake that can of rocks so much that you can put in more rocks. You want to hold as much as you can in a jar. Like, let's say, well, it's the same thing in the hospitals, and you'll see things get tighter and tighter and tighter. You get a third exam room, a fourth exam room, and the walls are coming in. And as the walls are coming in and the ceilings coming down because of all the other equipment you have, you create these ceilings in particular are quite an issue with dogs. And we see that when you have a dog in a small room, it's much more anxious, and you can see the anxiety behaviors coming out. You put him in a small room within a small facility in a hospital and a bunch of other dogs out front in a tight area. It just gets tight, and you see anxiety behaviors rising. There's a couple issues that come up there that are really big for us, and one of them is the ceiling height. By the way, we learned in San Diego with our outdoor yards that as the low-lying marine layer, you get low clouds coming right over you, not in a total fog, but just above you, that even that would rise the anxiety level in the yards, and you see dogs' behaviors changing. We have more altercations in enclosed areas or lower ceilinged areas. But the thing is that it's just extraordinary that when you remove, whenever a dog gets anxious, I think it's like us, they get the fight or flight. You have a response, you have this guttural response. And if you remove flight, all you got left is fight. So in a small area, if you're creating small entry areas and areas where the dog is living and spending its day, they often lose that sense of having the ability to get away somewhere. So,
I do have to admit, going into your facility, walking in is like, this place is, yes, I know that your square footage is huge, but I definitely had that feeling of spaciousness. And going into the exam rooms, like, wow, these are huge. Why would they be so large? And seeing your mindset now, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. It definitely gives you that feeling of being relaxed, being able to take that deep breath, and that pet not feeling as though the walls are caving in on them. And even your cat area, we'll definitely have to talk about your cat boarding, because the ability to, explore the trees outside, which aren't really outside, was just a very nice touch.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to watch, and I've had the pleasure of experiencing it, and the families that come in get the same joy, the same pleasure of comfort. And the amount of square footage, we have 25,000 feet here in Irvine, California, and anyone who's aware of the real estate market out here can do the math and say, wow, that's heavy. And the size of the exam room, no matter where it is in traditional standards of veterinary medicine, it's just too big. And so you look at the model, the business model we have, and I clearly don't fit. I couldn't hire a consultant that would tell me to do this, right? No one would do this. But it's coming, it's changing, and it works, and it's a synergy that occurs. It's something when you do this, the families are seeking out. They don't know they're seeking out because it doesn't exist anywhere yet. Well, here it does, but I don't have someone out there yet doing the same thing. We have a lot of veterinarians that do phenomenal facilities, hospitals, and they do really wonderful boarding. But again, they're hospitals. They're hospitals that board, and we're a hospitality facility that also does everything. It's a little shift in mindset, and you have to throw the numbers out, and you have to ignore all that you and I have learned in the past in business, how to run a veterinary hospital, because it's not a hospital. I mean, we have it, but it's not a hospital.
It seems as though you have really touched on just this integral portion of making that pet such the wondrous part of the family, because we know that the majority of the pets that are relinquished to shelters is because of behavioral issues. And I know one of the things that you're really stressing at your facility is that confident dog and the trained pet. Tell me about the training that's being carried on there.
That was really another eye-opener for me, daycare and training. I thought I understood training well over the years. I've worked with trainers intimately and referred to all kinds of issues that came up as I saw them or heard of them. However, here, because we're with them every day or so often, we have dogs that are in daycare as occur, or anxiety behaviors, and we share them with the family that they weren't aware that might have been an anxiety thing, or they thought all dogs did that. And so then we can help. We have trainers at our facilities every day. We're not locked into one way of training, so we have group classes and individual, the old school way, but we also have resort sleepover trainings, which, they're here for a period of time, say maybe boarding, and we'll do the training then. And I think the most common way now, the most effective way is this daycare training. When people drop off for daycare, and it's up to 12 hours a day, from 7 to 7, they can be here, or longer if they want. And during that time, we can work with them 1, 2, 3 times. and work on behaviors and do it sort of as an a la carte system where it's, look, once we get that issue or behavior taken care of, and then we don't need to do anymore. And we can do it on an as-needed basis. And we have very little concern about will they return, the compliance level. We have the relationship already, and we're all on board for the same thing. We're all looking for these happy, healthy dogs, that these family members that we treat as family members, realizing they're dogs, they're dog family members. So some of the things that we had to do in the hospitals, we had to use certain words for dogs to connect with the people. Where heard furry friends earlier today, and there's other terms that we use, four-legged friends, whatever. Well, these are dogs. They're family members. They're loved family members that are dogs, So we acknowledge that, and any and all behavioral issues that come up, we're able to handle. As a matter of fact, what we do, Doc, is we work with like local shelters, and we can bring a dog in and do the resort training for a week or two, work on some behaviors, help them make the dog more adoptable, get them back to them, and they adopt them right away. It's a wonderful service to be able to do because we're already here 24 hours a day. We never leave. So we can work on the dogs at midnight if we have to, and help train. We can create situations that in the hospitals was really very hard for us, and we just didn't have the space to do.
Dr. Boyd, I know that, yes, these pets are part of the family, and sometimes, as in human families, it's not the child that has the problem, it's the parent that has the problem, and their parenting skills may not be the best that are out there. So same thing holds true in veterinary medicine. I will see clients, pet owners coming through the door, and their dogs, their furry kids, cats, are just out of control. So how do you bring it to their attention that, yes, your pet has some issues, and oh, by the way, when will you be able to stop by so we can assist you in your parenting skills?
Well, again, fortunately, they're stopping by all the time. It's rare to have an individual bring their dog or their cat in once. And so as they come in on the repeat visits, we get to know them. They share with us. We observe these issues, and we identify it. We have trainers here every day, so rather than trying to find a time to connect with them, when they come in, we connect. When they come in, I'll have the trainer will go up and meet them. And if they miss them, then I'll have one of our trainers will call someone at home and say, we've noticed this behavior. Are you aware of it? We can try to help them, and we'll do a lot of courtesy, share as much information as we can on the phone or when we talk to them. And then if they're interested in engaging moving forward, as they identify, again, they don't know what they don't know. So as we're able to identify that to them, and we have this relationship, we're coming from the same place, and so it tends to be a little easier, and it's great because you're spot on. Most of the problems that we see with, stay with dogs for a moment, has to do with the way the family is treating the dog either as a human and perhaps maybe even not a really maybe sort of the old term spoiled human, child. And so we can help them with that. And as we can identify those things, we work with them in daycare or in the boarding or they're here for grooming. So it doesn't even require, it's not me. And so in the hospital scenario, you and I, when we're in the exam room, we have to divvy up that time and figure out, are we going to educate? They came in for an issue that you and I take care of right away, or it's resolved now. We have some time. We'll spend some time and help them with their pet. And historically, you have to pick. Are you going to talk about pet insurance? Are you going to talk about bathing and taking care of the coat and nutrition, or behavior? Well, in this case, we have specialists in each department, and so that's their position. So everybody will then, my trainers will go up and chat with someone. If it's something to do with the coat and the nails, we have some of our grooming department to go there. So it's not as much me. There's only so much talking that you can do in that exam. There's only so much time you have. And so by delegating it and empowering the specialists, they know it better than I do, which is a pleasure to say, right? I don't have to know everything, but I can put together the teams that do. And so
having your support staff and team, as you keep talking about them, is like, I can imagine some of the listeners right now are going, wow, being able to work at some place like Dr. Boyd's Pet Resort and Veterinary Center would be so much fun. I would love doing that. I'm into trainer, I'm into the nutrition aspects, I'm into animal care, but how do I get started with this? How do I get expertise? And where do you find these people? Because it seems like that would be very difficult to fill all of these slots for 24/7, 365 days a year.
Yeah. In 3 years, we've grown up to 65 or 70 staff members. And so it's grown rather quickly, and we have a tremendous pride within the team. And so we look for individuals. We look for the people and their human skills. We look for quality people that are compassionate, empathetic, and that have the desire. And then I don't hire them based off if they worked at some hospital on a certain software program, and therefore I hire them. And I say it's not even myself. I have a management team that does that. But we look for the people. So we have a high percentage of our staff members start green. They've not had experience. Okay? Because we bring them up through, we have a rather nice training program where you sort of shadow for a couple of weeks. You learn a lot, and whether going to the San Diego facility or here, we have dog handler positions where everyone goes through, and you're a handler and you're in the yards and working with the dogs and really learning behaviors and really learning about dogs and what makes them comfortable and what makes them happy. And then from there, those individuals who have certain interests, we create educational opportunities and growth opportunities. So we took 3 completely green people 3 years ago, and 3 of them now are professional dog trainers and heading up our departments. And so we created those opportunities. You can't, if you want to be a dog trainer, those that are listening, they know they can't just go sign up at dog training school. It's incredibly hard, and it's a really tight community. The trainers in your community don't want to teach you because they don't want you to be competition, next month when you leave them. So we created some opportunities and some trainers that we knew that are wonderful in Southern California, and now we have trainers, and same with groomers. The grooming is incredibly hard. Those that want to be pet stylists, it's hard, and you have to go to certain areas where you might not live, and it takes a long time. It's really expensive. So we've been able to create these internships within our system that allows them to become professional groomers. Veterinarians, we groom them through nursing. We develop a nursing department, and several of our current staff is going to be applying to vet school. And we have 2 that are going to RVT school, the registered veterinary technicians or nurses. It's sort of an organic growth within the team as opposed to depending on them coming from somewhere else. So the easy answer is, how do you get in it? You email us, you call us, and if you're fortunate to live in these communities, then we interview, and if you're right, then we bring you on.
And right now, that's excellent information. We've talked a lot about your philosophy, pet care. Most of it, I have to say, has been about dogs. And I know you have cat facility, and I have to bring up cats because there's a cat on my lap right now. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing for cats.
Yeah, I love cats. And, cats are not small dogs. And so cats do not need the same stuff that dogs do. And they crave security and comfort, and for them there are some different issues at play. When you deal with cats, particularly when you have dogs around, but I think any time you're dealing with cats, you always want to make sure you have at least 2 doors entering and exiting any particular facility, because we want to make sure wherever they are that they're safe and they don't get out. Whether it be if you're in the country, you've got predators, or in the city you've got cars, and here we've got dogs, right? So we have safety entrances getting in and out. They have their own air circulation to help prevent spread of disease and to have nice fresh smell. We have draw fans in there behind each of the bedrooms or the condos, and that pull the odor out from the litter box. Much like with the dogs, you try to create, some of the dogs and cats need a certain food, and we have them bring that from home, and others we have a wonderful food that you and I would feed in the hospitals if they had a GI problem, and we feed that as the standard food. So we try to give everyone the options to do however they want as far as feedings. If there's any medicines or supplements, we give everything to them. But what's really nice about the facility, the treehouse that you're talking about, is we have a large area that we're still building out. We haven't finished here in Orange County. And it's when you look in this large plate glass window at where the cats are, their bedrooms are set back quite a ways. So that gives them the comfort and security that they're not being encroached. And when you look in, it's like you're looking in a treehouse. We have big trunks going all the way through and branches, and you've got the wood framing and the corrugated metal roof, and it's like you're in the trees. And we rotate the cats out depending on their how they've tested and their sociability and their family members to have playtime out there. And there's hammocks and swings. We got this big wheel that they can run in, and then we sounds. Cats are really sensitive to sound, right? And so we have certain nature sounds that we put into those rooms, and I think it's comforting for them as opposed to the music that the handlers in back might like to listen to. And so I think we try to address They're having a safe place to retire, to eat, and to be in private time, but also an area to be able to interact and socialize, stretch, and have some exercise. And
sounds like I want to do a camp out in there.
I do. I hang out there. Yeah, I know. It's fun, and that's the other thing about this is that we can have so much fun. It's like you dream it up and you do it. It doesn't make sense from a veterinary business standpoint. It doesn't work on the traditional spreadsheets when you do profit and losses and balance sheets and all, but it really works from a family standpoint and from the dog and the cat standpoint. It's beautiful to watch.
Oh, Dr. John Boyd, thank you so much. I've learned a lot. I know visiting the facility was awesome, and I'm glad you're in the area. Wish you well, and I know that animals that will be going to you and their people will definitely have the hospitality experience and not the hospital experience. This is Dr. Bernadine Cruz. You've been listening to The Pet Doctor on Pet Life Radio. Thank you so much for listening. Please tune in again next week. We'll have more information on how to make you the best possible pet owner. Take care.
Pets can be a wonderful addition to your life because they're a member of the family. Keeping them healthy and happy is important. Pet Life Radio presents The Pet Doctor with veterinary media consultant and veterinarian Dr. Bernadine Cruz. Whether you have a dog, cat, reptile, or rabbit, you'll find answers for your pets straight from the vets. The Pet Doctor, on demand every week, only on PetLifeRadio.com.